Hey, what's up, everyone? I wanted to discuss a killer perk tier list. This is, of course, my opinion while playing killer, what I think is good, what I think is bad, and what I think will help you win games when you play killer. So we have 6 different tiers, and you'll notice a lot of perks. A lot of perks are down here at the bottom. Now, generally, the D class tier are things I consider vastly useless, but not completely useless. While the E class tier is just, I would never run them in an actual game. Now, we're going to kind of discuss and focus on the S to C class tier, what I think is amazing to what I think is good, how you should make some builds while you're playing killer. Now, corrupt intervention, now that Ruin is dead, I think corrupt intervention is a kind of must run. There's 7 gens on every single map, and corrupt intervention will hold 3 of them, leaving only 4 of them that you need to patrol for 2 minutes. So I kind of think corrupt intervention is the only S class tier perk, something that can be run on every single killer and be good. Everything else after that is kind of depending on the killer, depending on the build you're going, and we'll discuss that. So corrupt intervention, I would run on basically every single fucking killer. Barbecue and chili, 100% extra blood points. It gives auras. I love it for Huntress because it gives you that aura while people are moving. Hey, you get to throw the hatchet in this direction and you might be able to cross map somebody. It's amazing for somebody like Huntress or anyone that is trying to pick somebody off, but it doesn't necessarily give you a shitload of information because you can be sitting behind a gen, you can be sitting in a locker, you can be within 32 meters, you can throw somebody up on a hook and get absolutely no auras. I love it for the blood points. I hate it for the fact that it is so reliant on exactly how bad survivors are. If survivors are absolutely garbage, barbecue will give you a crap load of information. If survivors are good, practically nothing. Practically no information. You don't know if they're sitting around the hook. You don't know if they're hanging out hiding behind gens. You don't know if they're in lockers. Infectious Fright is great for M1 killers. While you're chasing down killers, you get to, or while you're chasing down survivors, not killers. You're not chasing down other killers. While you're chasing down survivors, you get to M1 a survivor, down them, and you get to see everything within your 32-meter terror radius. No killers like Huntress, Hag, depending on your version of Myers, either tier 1 or tier 2 Myers, if you down somebody, it might not be great because you might not have a good terror radius. So for certain killers, it's not like amazing. However, for a lot of killers, you have a base 32-meter terror radius, and that will tell you who is around you. You have this mixed with corrupt. You have this mixed with other things like thrilling. You mix it with like surge. If you've watched my most recent Wraith video where I have things like thrilling, infectious, corrupt, and surge, it gives you a lot of information. You get to understand who's around you. You pick somebody up. You get to see what gens they're on. It gives you a lot of information, and that's exactly it. If you get 3 people popping up, you know not to exactly pick that person up. You get to slug them. You get to put that pressure onto the map. Infectious allows that. Enduring. While you have enduring, somebody hits you with the pallet. 1 second later, you break that pallet. You continue that chase. Enduring is really good for people who are relying on chases, not your nurses, not your huntresses, not your spirits, not your onis. You don't really need it on those people who are going to be amazing in chases, but you need them for the M1 killers. If you're trying to make killers work at high ranks where people are going to loop and throw like 6 pallets in your face, your trappers, your pig, your clowns, enduring is an amazing perk. It massively allows you to continue chases by breaking pallets and continuing that chase. I highly recommend it. It's basically in every single perk set. Dueling Tremors. So we discussed the basically flaws of barbecue. Thrilling, when you pick up a survivor every 60 seconds, it does have a 60-second cooldown, which is probably its weakest part of it. Every 60 seconds, when you pick up a survivor, when you down them, the entity holds the generators for 16 seconds. And that's only if they are not on generators. So you know what generators are not being worked. And if generators are red on the map, it gives you that red aura, and you know exactly what generators are being worked. So rather than barbecue where they can hide in lockers or hide behind generators and you have no idea what's going on, Dueling Tremors tells you exactly what is going on, what generators are being worked. And this is why I would pair this with a lot of my M1 killers rather than something like barbecue. You down someone, you have infectious fright, you don't see anyone, you pick up them with thrilling, and you know exactly where to go after you hook them. Whereas with barbecue chili, you might not see the auras. They might jump in a locker, they might hide behind a generator. You won't know. And that's why Thrilling Tremors, I think, is a great A-class perk that allows you to some information, at least. If they're not on generators, if every single generator is held by the entity, it sucks, but that's at least 16 seconds. You know people aren't working on generators, and you know to go away from that hook. Sloppy Butcher. A lot of people run self-care. And self-care is incredibly weak, especially with something like Sloppy Butcher. It's a 38-second heal with Sloppy Butcher if you're running straight self-care. If you're running anything else, it still slows it down, and it might force survivors to heal each other, which pulls 2 people at a minimum off a generator. 2 people off a generator for 20 seconds. That's 40 seconds off a generator. That's half a generator every single time you do it. If you bounce back and forth between your hits, and they're continuously hitting people, you can get easily like 300 seconds in heals based off Sloppy Butcher. And that is so much time in slowing down the game. That alone either forces survivors to heal or forces survivors to stay injured. And if they stay injured, you only have a one-hit chase. One-hit chases account to a lot. They either throw a lot of pallets, which breaks pallets later in the game when you're going through chases, or it allows you to easy downs. Sloppy Butcher is an amazing perk. Whispers tells you if somebody is within 32 meters of your terror radius, and that is good. Like, have you ever gone to a generator, it's been partially worked, and you're like, are they here? Are they around? But you don't know. So Whispers will tell you they are still in this area or they're not. If you go to a generator that's partially worked and you don't have Whispers, you know to move on. You can spend a lot of time searching around trees, around rocks, around pallets, and not exactly know where they are. Whispers will tell you that somebody is definitely there or somebody's not. And that is the best thing about it. It's great to start steamrolling in the game, and it is great in the end game. Especially, have you ever closed a hatch, you're walking between 2 exit gates, and you don't know where they are? Well, Whispers will tell you which exit gate they are actually around. If you walk toward one exit gate and Whispers goes off, hey, you know they're around there. They're within 32 meters of that exit gate. You walk towards the other one, it disappears, it's gone. You don't know. Save the best for last. Save the best for last is good for when you're not hitting the obsession. There's 3 people who are not the obsession. 1 person is the obsession. Every time you hit somebody who is not the obsession, you gain 1 stack. Every time you hit somebody who is the obsession, you lose 2 stacks. If you continuously down people who are not the obsession, especially if you're slugging, you're going to gain a lot of stacks, which will increase the cooldown on your basic attack animation and your cleaning animation. Every single time you M1 as a killer, you go into that cleaning animation, you wipe the blood off of your blade, and then you go into into the chase again. The issue with this, and why I personally have Pop Goes the Weasel, which everyone thinks is an amazing perk down here in C class, is outside of Save the Best for Last, you M1 a survivor. Let's say like base, you M1 a survivor and they sprint off in a straight line and you press W and chase them. Between hitting them, cleaning off your blade, and both of you pressing W, it is a 20-second chase before you can M1 them again. That is the entire time of a Pop Goes the Weasel. 20 seconds. That is 20 charges on a generator. And personally, why I Pop Goes the Weasel down here is because 20 seconds is not a lot of time. If you have Save the Best for Last and you have it stacked up, that goes from a 20-second chase to like a 10-second chase. It's amazing if you have this stacked up. You get to continuously slug people, you get to hit people, down them, continuously clean off your blade, and move on. Now, in the B class, we typically have a lot of things that are going to be aura or slowdown. Nurse's Calling, if you're healing, you give an aura within 32 meter radius. Discordance, if 2 people are working on a gen, that gen turns yellow and explodes, telling the killer where they are. We have right here Spirit Fury. If you break 2 pallets, the 3rd pallet that hits you will explode. Spirit Fury and Enduring are an amazing combo. While a lot of people will tell you not to run Spirit Fury, it is not a perk that requires a lot of skill or to work around. It does help with your M1 killers. If you have 15 pallets thrown on you in a single match, Spirit Fury will give you a lot to work with. Brutal Strength will allow you to break pallets a lot quicker. Strider, you get to hear survivors breathing. Even when they're injured, a lot more, about 50% more. And while they're not injured, 25% more. So if you're running something like Spirit, that'll help. Monitor and Abuse. If you're not in a chase, your terror radius is lowered by 8 meters. If you are in a chase, your terror radius is extended by 8 meters. This will help with things like Infectious Fright. Save the Best for Last. Something like a Michael that requires you to continuously chase and gain stock. Save the Best for Last is amazing because it allows you to move quicker. Basically 5% per stack. So this is a obsession related perk, and it is only while you're chasing an obsession. So if you're running something like let's say a Bubba, and he's a base 115% movement killer, if you get 3 stacks from your obsession, you move at 130%. That allows you to move really quick when you're trying to chainsaw. Dying Light, every single time you hook somebody, there's a 3% stack. That is not your obsession. When your obsession dies, it does not matter, but everyone who you hook that is not your obsession slows down everything by 3%. So let's say you hook all 3 of your survivors 2 times that are not the obsession, you're lowering that by 12%. Generators move 12% lower. Heals slow down by 12%. Opening the gates slows down by 12%. Everything moves down. Dying Light is great when you pair it with other things. By itself, it's not that great. And that's why we have it in the B class. Now we're going to kind of skim over the C class. Bamboozle, you block off a window. It's really good in certain situations like Killer Shack or God windows. Outside of that, not that great. Devour Hope allows you to, if you get 3 stacks, M1 somebody and insta down them, even from full health, 5 stacks, you're allowed to Mori them. Now, the issue with this is it is a hex totem. It gets blown up almost immediately in a lot of cases. New Ruin. It can be good. I'm not gonna lie. New Ruin can be good, but it's a hex totem. It's super reliant. If you play somebody like Trapper and you have Ruin, you're not gonna get any use out of it. Pop Goes the Weasel. I already discussed the fact that Pop Goes the Weasel only regresses a gen 20 seconds. And if you're even remote, if you can just press W away from the killer, you outrun Pop Goes the Weasel. It's good in a 3-gen situation, but overall not that great. Bitter Murmur. It gives the auras of all survivors around the generator that is finished for about 5 seconds. It's amazing. Toward the end game, it's about 10 seconds of all survivors, no matter where they're at. If you're running something like Huntress, it can be really good. In any other killer situation, you get to see where survivors are moving when a gen is popped. If you're not currently in a chase, you get to pick them off. That is why I specifically put it in the C class. It's not amazing, but it could give you information. Third seal, it is good so long as it stays alive. It blinds people. It tells them, you know, if you blind an entire team, they can't see where you slug people, where you hook people, anything like that. However, it's a hex totem. Unfortunately, with hex totems, they get blown up immediately. Thanatophobia, it's really good if you can keep survivors injured. If you can pair this with something like Sloppy Butcher that's up in A class, you get to have people with 4 stacks. You get to slow everything down. The healing, the generators, everything by 16%. Sloppy Butcher on top of that, it slows down healing and dying light. It, you know, you're hooking people, it slows that down. You pair stuff like this up, it works great. Thanatophobia is a great perk if paired properly. Nemesis I have down in the C class. It doesn't really pair with anything. However, if you are the obsession, you stun somebody, it gives you that obsession perk. It can work with things like Rancor. It can work with things like Dark Devotion. And you will not have the terror radius or the red stain for the killer, and they're able to just walk up upon you. And that can be difficult if it's somebody like a Myers or a Ghostface or anyone else, a Billy even. If a Billy walks up on you and is able to chainsaw you because you had no idea Billy was coming, it can be difficult. It's in the C class. It's still super reliant on everything else, but it can be run and it can be paired well, which is why it's not in the, hey, it's worthless, and hey, it's basically worthless. Haunted Ground, somebody pops it thinking you have something else. You get to insta down somebody with an M1. That's basically all it is. It's 60 seconds of being able to insta down with an M1. Surge. I really like Surge. I play a lot of M1 killers. Surge will kick every single gen around you. It will instantly regress gens 8%. And it will also blow up if somebody is on that gen within that terror radius. So you can use Surge as like a replacement for Infectious Fright. If you're using a basic M1 killer, it'll tell you where they are in that specific area. And I like it. And Huntress Lullaby, it's a hex perk, but like people typically don't look for it. You jump on a gen, you hit a skill check, it's like Huntress Lullaby. Oh, okay, fine, whatever. I'm not going to get off the gen to go look for that. But later on, if you get 5 stacks on that, people don't have the sound skill check to tell you, hey, you know, watch out, in 2 seconds you're getting a skill check. And that is super useful later. A lot of people who aren't great survivors will blow up skill checks after that. All right, guys. Thank you for watching this video. This is my interpretation of what perks are good on Killer. If you've ever watched me play Killer, you see me run typically everything through the S through C class. And I will see you guys later. See you guys in stream. See you in the YouTube videos. Have a great night. I will see you later.